one for good old time's sake. Let's go. All right, we're off and running Saturday morning. The Krueg Show meets the John Chapman experience. And here we go. Away we go. Thanks to everybody for jumping in. Let's kill the band. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to our good friends at Mancini's Sleep World. That's right, Mancini's is a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. They've got their spring clearance sale that just wrapped up, but click the link in the description. Make sure you use the code KRUEG10 and you'll get the discount, which is 10% off when you use our exclusive code KRUEG10 at any of Mancini's locations or online at sleepworld.com. You get an extra 10% off when you use the exclusive code KRUEG10, K-R-U-E-G 10. So click the description, make sure you use that code, and get the 10% off. Thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. John Chapman's back in the house, first time since the draft. John, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Man, I'm awesome. We have 11 new 49ers members, part of the family. I love the new tape breakdowns and like diving into the new, like it's just awesome. Whenever you get the attrition, free agency, we lost so much and didn't replace very much. And so now you got these 11 new, 6 new if you count the undrafted free agents, so 17 total. It's exciting. I feel like the fan base is excited. There's a lot of hope around kind of the community. And so, yeah, it's a good time, man. It's nice to dive into these players. And I'm excited to talk to you because I know a couple of players I was lower on, you were higher on. And when all else fails, man, that's what Krueger's here for. So I am excited to talk and chat and get to know these players a little better.
Yeah, let's get into it. And, one of the things that jumped out was that, the 49ers decided that they were going to go heavy defensive line and very light on the offensive line. I think we kind of debated this in the early part of the draft cycle. Would they go O-line? Would they go D-line? They needed help on both. Well, they clearly, what the Niners have always done. The Niners go D-line. They go D-line over O-line. Going back to Bob McKittrick, Harris Barton was a first-round pick. But outside of that, Bubba Paris was a pretty high pick. But you got a decade there where it was all undrafted guys or late round guys. And hey, Bob McKittrick figured it out. And I feels like, it's the same thing, just fast forward a few decades. And here we are, Chris Forster, just figure it out. We'll give you Connor Colby. We'll get you a Drew Moss. You just figure it out. And all the real money and real draft assets are going into the defensive line. Before we get into some specifics on the draft and get into our redraft, what would you say to that? Some people would say, hey, the Niners have always been D-line over O-line, except they used to win Super Bowls. Now they're competing for Super Bowls. They're not winning them, and that's maybe the only difference. The Niners, Matt Mayoko and Jennifer Leachan did a draft recap, and they're showing PFF stats that showed that the Niners offensive line was third in run blocking and like 15th or 18th in pass blocking. Is the Niner offensive line better than we think, or are the Niners delusional?
I think it's probably got to be somewhere in between. PFF is one of my least favorite places to go for offensive line stats because they don't take into account the scheme, right? So basically their philosophy is whoever the defensive line guy was closest to on the offensive lineman that came through and made the tackle or a pressure, it's that guy's fault. And that doesn't always come into account, especially in the Shanahan scheme. So if everybody's fanning to the left of the offensive side, a lot of times that's going to be on the center and not the guard, but they attribute it to the guard probably 8 out of 10 times. And so that's a little issue. So I love PFF, and I think that they do a great job on so many things. Offensive line rankings, I feel like they are by far one of the worst, and especially whenever it comes to a zone scheme. Again, and they only measure kind of the first 2 seconds, which is a Jake Brendel special. So it's nowhere near as good as PFF says, and I don't think that the 49ers are delusional. The one thing that I would say is that they have the bodies, the number of rostered players on the offensive line. The quality there, little suspect. I am not on the Jake Brendel fan train, and I do think that he is by far one of the worst centers in the NFL, but he does make the right calls. He does his job. He is tough as nails. He does not miss time, and he always gets to where he should. He just doesn't have the functional strength to maintain a block. So whereas, he can get to the linebacker and kind of get that combo block, he just can't maintain it. So the linebacker just tosses him aside. Jake Brindle stops and starts watching the play and watches his guy make a tackle for a 4-yard gain, which should have been an 8 or 9-yard gain. So it's just kind of like a wet blanket approach to the explosiveness of the offense. And, you're betting a lot on Ben Barch. You're betting a lot on Nick Sigle or Spencer Burford if he's going to be in that left guard spot. And next to that center, you now have 2 question marks on the offensive line, which is 40%. But they're betting that 1 this year, somebody's going to step up, and they're betting 2 next year. Colton McKivitz in his last deal. I know a lot of fans don't like him, but man, he is. You are getting what you are paying for with extra with Colton McKivitz at the right tackle. He is nowhere near on the level of play as I would say Jake Brindle. He's way ahead of that, but it's his last year. Trent Williams, 37 years old. Who's your swing tackle? They did go add DJ Humphries, which is probably one of my favorite things that they've done. So I think it's in between. The offensive line limits a lot. Brock Purdy makes up for a lot of the misses that they have in the pass rush. I really wish they would have addressed it. I think in the second part of our show where we kind of go through what we would have done, I have a huge disconnect. I would have brought in multiple offensive linemen.
Let's get into what they actually did. What did you think as far as give me the biggest steal they had and the biggest reach?
Picks happen right next to each other. CJ West was by far the biggest steal, in my opinion. I thought that was a great pick. I had an early 3rd-round grade on him. They got him at pick 113. And then pick 138, Jordan Watkins, who I like, but I didn't even have a 7th-round grade on him, Larry. I think that he's a really, really good athlete. I love his attitude, and I'm liking him the more I watch him. But I struggled with all of his production coming in one game and only getting to start, at that starter level once Trey Harris was out. Now, it might be a perfect pick and a perfect fit, but I thought that was an incredible reach. But I'm excited to have him. I do like what that kid is made up of. And his combine performance, I didn't know how much value the 49ers put in the combine. When Kyle Shanahan was asked about Jordan Watkins, he says, man, had a really good gauntlet drill. It's kind of weird that that's the first thing that came off, but that's okay. I'm excited to have him, though. And the tape is fun. It's just, I thought that was an incredible reach, but Shanahan and his wide receivers, whenever he falls in love, he'll take them wherever. And I know you're a Jordan Watkins guy, so that's one of the things I'm so excited to talk about is I know you're high on Watkins.
Yeah, I am. Well, I mean, he's both the athlete and the producer. If you can produce and you're an athlete, I like that. And then, he did it in the SEC. He doesn't look like a receiver. That's the first thing you have to get over is that he looks more like a running back. But you know what? This guy's got good speed. He'll go get the ball. He runs a full route tree. I really like him. I don't think he's Debo, but I think he could run some of the Debo routes. And I don't think he's Ayuk, but I think he can run some of the Ayuk routes. And I think he's a much more substantial physical player than Cowing. So he gives them some speed and a guy who I think is physical enough to play in the NFL. I would say the biggest steal and reach. I thought the biggest steal and reach also were back-to-back picks, but I thought they were the picks in the 7th round. I thought Connor Colby was the biggest steal. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's made, a ton of starts in a really good program. And you need a guy who can step in and play. And this guy's done nothing but play. I mean, he's played for Iowa and he's played at a pretty high level. He's got shorter arms, but other than that, I mean, I think this guy's got a really advanced understanding of how to wall off his guy and how to have success as an offensive lineman. I always felt like the Iowa team was really a well-coached football team across the board. And I like Colby, the fact that he's considered a run blocker, that he's considered to be kind of nasty. I like that. And I thought him in the 7th round potentially could be an incredible steal because I think he's got the ability to beat out Ben Barch and play left guard or maybe right guard and have Pooney move over to left guard. So I like the Colby pick. I think that was great value. I didn't like Junior Bergen. I mean, come on, man. You're talking about a 4-5 return guy from Montana. This guy better be absolutely kick ass or they look like a bunch of idiots. I mean, there were so many good players that went undrafted all around this league. You could have had Eugene Asante. You could have had Chandler Martin. You could have had, the offensive lineman from North Carolina, who I was super fired up about, Willie Lampkin. I mean, you could have had any number of guys. There was all kinds of guys. You could have had Montrell Johnson, the running back who went to the Eagles. There was all kinds of good players in the 7th round, and you went with a guy who is not going to make your football team. I mean, there's no way in hell Junior Bergen is going to make their football team. And I look at that and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you guys wasting draft choices on guys that probably don't have a prayer of making your football team? And people say, well, Krueg, what do you mean? Why is he not going to make the team? Where's he going to play? I mean, where is he going to play? You have Ayuk, Pearsall, Jennings, Demarcus Robinson. You just drafted Jordan Watkins. You have Jacob Cowing. That's 6 right there. Okay, take Ayuk out for the injury. So that's 5. Let's say you go with 6. You still have Trent Taylor, Tariq Owens, Russell Gage, Isaiah Hodgins, Isaiah Nair, who I really believe I agree with Scott McLuhan, who told Matt Barrows that he would have drafted Isaiah Nair in the 7th round over Junior Bergen. I would have too. It's unbelievable that they went with a return guy only who's not even fast. I mean,
what did
stop
Kyle
listening
say,
stop listening so much to your special teams coordinator. Stop listening so much to your coaching staff and start listening to your scouts. Coaches will always take the guy who's going to help them. The special teams coach will always take the return guy. You needed an offensive lineman. You needed the defensive lineman. You need more linebackers. You need more actual meat and potatoes guys. You don't have a good enough house. It's not about let's spend $1,000 gussying up the fucking mailbox. Who gives a shit about the mailbox when you don't have windows, a roof, or flooring? The Niners delude themselves all the time into thinking they did it a few years ago with Jake Moody. We have no needs. We'll take a kicker in the 3rd round. A couple years later, you're super thin. You always have better needs. I don't care how deep you think you are. A return man who runs in the 4.5s, who's not going to be one of your 6 best receivers, or if he is, you're going to basically operate a man short at receiver. I want to keep Isaiah Hodgins. I want to keep Isaiah Nair. I want to keep Jordan Watkins. I want to keep Jacob Cowing. And I can't keep those guys if I've got a 4-5 specialist return man who I've got to just take and put on my roster because of blind faith. I mean, realistically, how many opportunities is this guy going to get in the preseason? So you're probably going to put him on the roster just because you drafted him at the expense of who? To me, that was a total ridiculous pick.
When Kyle was asked, talk to us about Junior Bergen, and he's like, oh, well, he's going to be a returner. We'll throw him in with the wide receivers. It was just like, ow, ouch. We're going to throw him in with the wide receivers? I don't know. I'm with you. I didn't like the pick. I didn't have Junior ranked. You go watch his film. His highlights are incredible. But again, and they highlighted the importance of the new touchback rule going all the way to the 35. They think there's going to be more returning spotlight. There's a bigger chance for that to impact the game. All right, cool. But man, there are so many guys, like you said, and one of my biggest issues was the fact that they spent no money. They spent $92,000 on the entire undrafted free agent class, Larry.
Well, you sucked and won 6 games, and Kansas City made it to the fucking Super Bowl, and yet they get Elijah Badger after the draft, and you don't. They get Jake Briningstool from Clemson after the draft, and you get nobody. I mean, make that make sense.
They're tightening the wallet. You spent over $927,000 on drafted free agents last year, and you got a great haul. You got Evan Anderson. You got a lot of guys. Mason Pline. He's going to be looking for a role. A lot of players that kind of came across and are still on the team. This year, you went pinched pennies, and it was very similar to what happened in free agency, where you didn't spend. And there were so many quality undrafted free agents there, and they just not to say that the 6 you got weren't great and won't contribute, but you got bargain bin players. You chose
the Seahawks signed Zy Alexander from LSU, a corner that you could have used, and Jared Ivey. Why are the Seahawks getting Jared Ivey and you're getting nothing?
Well, the Seahawks spent $1.4 million on their undrafted free agents. The 49ers spent $92,000 combined. So you're talking about a 15 times budget that they're operating with. That's why they got those players. Jed York didn't want to spend the money, and that's kind of where and that's okay. And some people are like, well, you're paying Kittle, you're paying Purdy, he gets to save that money, but now you're up to almost $50 million in cap space. Like, there is room to add more. But that was not the prerogative of the front office. And so you get what you pay for. If a team has a 15 times the budget that you have for undrafted free agents, they're going to land some studs.
Look at Philly. Philadelphia won the Super Bowl. They got Maxon Hook at safety, BJ Mays at corner. Niners could have used both those guys for sure. On offense, Shunderick Powell, the return guy, is electric. Montrell Johnson is a really good player. They got Holland Pierce. As a backup left tackle. They already have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, and they drafted Drew Kendall, Miles Hinton, and Cam Williams, and yet they still got Holland Pierce. And the Niners didn't get a tackle to speak of. And if any of their tackles go down, they're really bottom barrel. Who's the Niners swing tackle? I mean, Humphreys was horrible last year with the injuries and his ineffectiveness. I mean, I would like the idea of the veteran offensive, swing tackle there as well at this point. But I mean, my goodness, you don't think Holland Pierce would have been a nice addition after the draft? Starting tackle from Rutgers who's 6'8", 340 pounds. I mean, I think that would have been nice. I don't know. I mean, I understood the let's be cheap in free agency because there's a compensatory formula. Okay. But, and I understood, the desire to use all 11 draft picks, but I don't understand in a draft where your GM stated to everybody that this is an uncharacteristically deep draft. And yet in an uncharacteristically deep draft, you decided to sit out the undrafted portion and only give Stone Blanton any bonus money. Stone Blanton got $92,000, I believe. Yeah. I think he got all the bonus money. Blanton. So I mean, what does that say? I mean, it's just it's mystifying, really. And it's like so. And then if I said to John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan, hey, you guys are really taking a step back this year, and you're really doing a rebuild this year, they would fight me over it. They'd literally be pissed. They'd be like, what? How dare you say that we're not in it this year? We're in it. Well, you didn't sign any free agents, and you passed on the undrafted pool of free agents. When it came time to put your money where your mouth was, you didn't do it. So, but now you're going to be super bent when any of us say, you're not really competitive in 2025. It's like
the $50 million on the books cap wise, just sitting there, and the compensatory pick formula is done. After the Monday after the draft, you can sign anybody, which they signed TJ Humphreys, but like what you spend on those free agents, like those undrafted free agents, that's available. They just chose not to use it. And we saw 2 cash cuts, with Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins. That had nothing to do with the cap. No matter what anybody tells you, that only had to do with cash spending and getting younger. That is part of the formula, but like you didn't replace it. Now you go through the draft and you build through the draft. That's solid, but you have to fortify parts of your roster with free agency and undrafted free agency. And the 49ers negated both of those. And so, yeah, there's going to be some depth issues on this roster. Now, how well they drafted overcome some of that? That's something that is yet to be determined. If you could go replicate what you did in the 2024 draft and you get these 4 to 5 solid contributors, you do that again this year, then you're going to be all right. Hopefully the 49ers in the near future, Hopefully this was just a 1-year cash reset, which has been put out there instead of just Jed going back to his old ways and tightening the money. So I'm hoping next year you can fortify some of your roster misses with free agency and spending some money. You ain't got to spend it all. $50 million still sitting out there for this year that you could improve this team, but it doesn't look like they're going to use it.
CJ West was my favorite pick. Probably the pick that was confusing to me was Curtis Rourke. I mean, I didn't get the Curtis Rourke pick. I mean, I really just didn't. You have needs everywhere. Quarterback, I'm not saying it's not smart to take a quarterback, but an immobile quarterback that's going to not play at all this year or is he going to play this year?
I doubt it. I really think the reason why they took him was to redshirt him. He's going to be on the NFI coming off that ACL surgery. And so, he definitely going to be on the initial 53-man roster, but he's not going to count because he'll be on the NFI. You can carry that over. So he'll stay on. It's just going to be a redshirt year. So, this was, the seventh round was, 2 of those 3 picks. I'm cool with the quarterback. I'm with you there, Larry, but I don't think that he plays at all this year.
And also, it's there's no mobility. And it's I'm at a point now where I really believe that if you're going to operate behind this 49er offensive line, you better have some mobility because it's not a great line. I mean, you saw in Green Bay what it looked like when the quarterback didn't have mobility. It was like he was just a sitting duck back there. Purdy's mobility is not just become a luxury, it's become a necessity. So I thought that was the most confusing pick. How about best scheme fit? Was there a player that fits Kyle Shanahan or Robert Saleh's system, you think, really well?
Nick Martin is perfect. He's a perfect Saleh linebacker. I thought it was a huge reach coming off that injury, but man, you watch Nick Martin play linebacker. What does Robert Saleh always do? Undersized, high speed, high energy linebackers. Jamian Sherwood, Azeez Al-Shire, Dre Greenlaw. Those are and you could even go into some of the linebackers that didn't work out. Marcel Harris, DFF. Nick Martin has the traits that Robert Saleh absolutely loves. Undersized, very, very fast, very, very aggressive, likes football, likes contact, likes violence. Nick Martin fits that to a T. I had a 5th round grade on. I don't know where you had Nick Martin. So it was a reach.
4th.
You had 4th. So, yeah. But I'm dude, Robert Saleh, his hits have been home runs. So if Robert Saleh signs off on a linebacker that he just has to have, I give him a little bit more leeway because he's done it with the 49ers. He's done it with the Jets. So that's the one where I'm just okay, it was a reach to me, but man, it is a perfect fit. It is a perfect scheme fit.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, I think Martin is an awesome player. I mean, when you're talking about speed and power and strength and violence and production, I just think this is what you're looking for. I love the day 3 linebacker draft. And I thought, it had a bunch of guys, and I knew this guy was probably going to come off the board. I thought it would be, late 4th round. Instead, it was early in the 3rd round. It was a little bit of a reach, but I'll tell you, I understand why, it was a reach based on where he was ranked, but he was ranked based on the fact that he didn't play. And, I think some size limitations. This guy doesn't play with any size limitations. He's strong as any linebacker you're going to find. He's fast as any linebacker you're going to find. And I think he's productive. So I think he's a plug and play day 1 starter. In fact, that's to me the best. I think he's the best scheme fit. But I also think Upton Stout could be a great scheme fit as a slot corner who's really strong against the run. I think both those guys are good scheme fits. How many day 1 starters did they get out of this thing?
Ooh. Okay, so we have to look at this through the 49ers roster lens, right, Larry? So, again, with what we have. So, Mykel Williams, starter day 1. There's no competition there. Alfred Collins, starter day 1. There's no defensive tackles. And I would say CJ West would be a rotational piece, but I don't think that he will be. It might be Jordan Elliott out there because Kyle Shanahan loves him so much, but I would prefer Alfred Collins, CJ West to be your starters. So that's 3. Nick Martin, he's going to count for sure. I think Upton Stout's going to work his way in. I think he's going to work his way in. So I'm not saying day one starter there, but I do think another rookie will win a starting job, and I'm going Marques Sigle. I think that he wins one. Now, you have to put an asterisk next to it because of Malik Mustafa, but I think that he will win that second safety next to Jair Brown. He is one of the best. He's the fastest safety that you have in the room now. I think he would be that perfect eraser free safety role. So I think that's, Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West, Nick Martin, and Marques Sigle, all 5 on defense. I think you're still muted, Larry. Sorry about that. I stole the show. That's my bad. That was on me.
No, I got a lingering cough, so it bites me in the middle of the show. No, I was going to say, I think Mykel Williams is going to start. I think Alfred Collins is going to start. I think Nick Martin is going to start. I think Upton Stout is going to start. I think CJ West is going to start. So I think those 5 guys are all going to start. But I actually also think Connor Colby is going to start, because I really don't believe that the Niners have addressed the left guard situation at all. I mean, and if it's not Connor Colby, I think it might be Drew Moss. I really believe one of those rookies is going to wind up starting at left guard, because you only have to beat out who? Ben Bartch, Spencer Burford. I mean, these guys, but Bartch has a hard time staying healthy. Burford has been there for years. If they loved him, they would have played him by now. I kind of think that there's a very good chance that Colby, who had, I think, 50 career starts at Iowa and is only 22, I think he goes right from Iowa's right guard spot to either a right guard spot or a left guard spot with the Niners. I think Colby starts. And if Colby doesn't, I think Moss might. If not, who's your starter at left guard?
Yeah, I mean, Ben Bartch got like $1 million deal. Like he got basically nothing. And Nick Sigle got some work there at the end of the season when the season was out of hand. Looked all right, but I'm not sure he's a great scheme fit. It's rough, and they're just hoping, we're just going to throw somebody in there. We're going to be all right. Now, the one thing I will say is Ben Bartch and Nick Sigle both played better than Aaron Banks did in their fill-in time at that left guard spot last year. So that makes me a little more excited. Maybe this offensive line could be a little bit better, but there are question marks. And that left guard spot, who knows, man? Spencer Burford, maybe. I want Ben Bartch to win it, but, man, I'd be very happy if Connor Colby or Drew Moss, the undrafted free agent out of Colorado, like, that would be awesome too. Like, it would be cool if somebody took that spot and ran with it, because Ben Bartch, the one thing I will say, he's young. Like, he's been on several teams and changed teams, but, like, if he did win that job and you could lock him up on a team-friendly deal for the next 3 years, that would make Kyle Shanahan and Chris Forster so happy. Like, they are hoping somebody takes this job and runs with it. It would be nice. Good value play there.
Who has the highest upside? Who's got the highest ceiling long-term of all the guys they added?
Man, I'm going to go with the second-round pick, Alfred Collins. And so, like, I know a lot of people have diagnosed him as just run stuffer only, doesn't add much in the pass rush game. But, man, you look at Mykel Williams, like, havoc rate and all those things, it's off the charts. Now, he's not a sack guy, but as far as pressures, quarterback hits, passes, defense, he has a better havoc rate than Walter Nolan did, who went in the first round. I know you love Walter Nolan. He's great, but like the 6'5", the length, this dude has a longer wingspan than LeBron James. He affects the passer so much. So I'm not saying he's going to ever have high sack numbers. I don't think that that's really who he is. He gets compared to Chris Jones all the time because they have the same height, weight, build, wingspan, all that stuff. But I think that the pass rush can be involved and be helpful much more than he's going to be a 10-sack guy, defensive player of the year. But if Alfred Collins hits and increases into pass rush production, that ceiling with the way he is built, his motor, his passion, his football character, that dude, I'm telling you, absolutely loves football. He is a 10 out of 10 football personality skill. I'm pretty excited for Alfred Collins. Now, again, I have to let everybody know my bias. I am a Longhorn. But, dude, this is somebody that he's played in like 60 games, Larry, and just always contributed. Now, he had to wait his turn behind elite guys, T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, like Momo, like they've had some greats come through there. But when he finally, and he made his impact felt as a true freshman, getting snaps over those guys. He didn't get a start until last year, but I think there's still a lot of meat left on the bone for Alfred Collins to reach his potential.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's Alfred Collins. I mean, it's Alfred Collins. I saw some film of this guy getting tripled, and he still was making plays. This is a big-bodied guy that has so much talent. And I agree. It's funny, they had Scott McLuhan did a little sit-down with Barrows, and McLuhan's like, this guy's not going to give you pass rush. And then he's like, ever. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's never going to give you pass rush. And I wouldn't say that at all. I mean, you're talking about a guy that I think moves really well at 332 pounds. This guy moves better at 332 than Kinlaw moved at whatever weight he was at. That's for sure. So I would say Collins. The other guy, though, I would also throw in there, I know it sounds crazy to say this, but the Nebraska undrafted wide receiver, Isaiah Nair. He's always had this crazy skill set. You're talking about a guy who's 6'4", 220, but runs 4.4 flat. If that was the entirety of his skill set, that would be something right there. I mean, 4.4 flat on 6'4", 220. I mean, there aren't too many guys that can do that. But then you look at the fact he's got 35-inch arms, so he's got ridiculous arm length. So he plays probably more like a 6'6", 6'7" guy. Oh, but wait, he also has almost a 40-inch vertical. So now we're talking about a guy who may play like 6'8", big. This guy's going to play very, very big. Oh, and by the way, he might be as fast as almost any receiver that you have, including Jacob Cowing. He runs 4.4 flat. So, Texas gets these guys. And I think it's interesting that both these guys were Texas guys. Mm-hmm. Texas, LSU, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, they get these guys. And Texas winds up getting, especially in recent vintage, some of the most ridiculous recruits. And I would say both Collins and Nair kind of fit that description. And they don't all, it doesn't always, hit, right? Sometimes these guys bust. Sometimes these guys have stories about them or whatever. I mean, Nair started at Wyoming, went to Texas, got hurt, never really played there, went to Nebraska, and finished up this year and had a really good year. Collins, was a monster at Texas on a deep, talented team and line. But I think both those guys, the ceiling is really high. I mean, if the Niners ever see the ceiling on either one of those guys, I think this is going to be an incredible draft. Just because I think Collins he's got all pro potential. And I think Nair he's just got a ridiculous skill set. I can't think of anybody. I'll say this. If you're going to take a flyer on an undrafted receiver, give me a guy with 40-inch vertical, 35-inch arms, 4.4 speed, who's 6'4", 220. I'll take my chances with that guy every year.
Yeah, he's kind of, and I hate to use this analogy, so I apologize. He's like a poor man's Savion Williams. Everybody was really high. But on the second round,
yeah,
you're getting this freak athlete at receiver that's built, and people get upset, but like his testing matches Julio Jones. His arm, like the way that dude is built. Now, he's not that player. No, nobody is. Julio Jones, a Hall of Famer, one of the best ever, but you're getting that athleticism, that size. And remember, Kyle Shanahan got the most out of Josh Gordon. He got the most out of Julio Jones. He got the most out of Andre Johnson across his thing. So Shanahan has time with these elite athletic physical skill sets. Can you tap into this on an undrafted free agent? I love that you pointed that out, Larry, because that's a high upside play. And with the undrafted free agents, that's what I want. With 7th-round picks, that's what I want. I want swing for the fences. I want early, right down the fairway doubles, day 1 and day 2. I don't like risk. I especially with the way this roster is built. You need starters.
Yep.
And then later in the draft, that's where you swing for the fences, because if you miss, who cares? You miss on a first, second, third rounder, that's going to hurt. And the 49ers have done that. But, man, whenever you get those late-round gems, and that's what saved Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in their tenure here, is that you've gotten George Kittle, you've gotten Dre Greenlaw, you've gotten Talanoa Hufanga, you've gotten Demo, you've gotten all these late-round day 3 guys that are great. Brock Purdy, I mean, I could stay here forever and do that. That is what they have built this roster around. And so if you can have somebody, and again, Larry, if I asked you, pick an undrafted free agent or a 7th rounder to hit their ceiling, which are you going to go? Isaiah Nayer might be the choice, because he's just built like Frankenstein.
Yeah, no, he's intriguing as hell. I can't wait to see him. All right, before we get to our mock, a couple more notes. Niners, by the way, because of the way they handled free agency, do have 3 compensatory picks, 2 in the 4th round in next year's draft. So that's good news. Niners also brought back Ross Dwelly yesterday on a 1-year deal. I thought that was odd, considering you already have 3 kind of receiver-only tight ends. I would have gone with a Gerald Everett type player. There's also some talk that Isaac Guerrero, somebody floated the idea that he could be traded. I don't think that's the case, but I do think he's one of the losers here, because I think he got a couple backs in front of him. The other thing I was going to ask is, history tells us that Corey Kiner is going to be better than Jordan James. Now, I don't know if that's ultimately the case, but that's been the case with the 49ers. Their undrafted back, their late round back has exceeded the expectations of their earlier back. And this year, the earlier backs, Jordan James, and the later backs, Corey Kiner. And I bring it up because, man, if you watch Corey Kiner was a pretty damn good player in high school. He was pretty good enough to get recruited to LSU. He's got a crazy spin move, and he runs hard. He's got great contact balance. He's kind of tough. Like, if you told me that Corey Kiner outperformed Jordan James, I just suggested that it could happen because of history, but I just, on the profile after watching both backs, I think they look. I like James more, but I'd say this: they're comparable, man. They are comparable backs, and if you told me that Corey Kiner outperformed James, I wouldn't even doubt it.
Not at all. And you know what's crazy is Corey Kiner was on the Ty Davis Price LSU squad. They were the same running back room in 2021. So
right.
There's some connections there. And you look at Corey Kiner, dude, him and Jordan James and Jordan Mason. I did not think the 49ers would go after a non-elite receiving or a non-high-speed running back. I thought that they have changed their formula. And you traded away Jordan Mason, right? So, dude, they're going with all these high-speed receiving backs. That's just what they're going to do now. Wrong. They had not 1, but 2 small, slow-bodied wide receiver or running backs that are not great in the passing game. I think Jordan James has a little bit higher upside in the passing game. He runs way better routes, but a lot of concentration drops. And then you get to Kiner, built the same way. Both of them are all-purpose kind of jack-of-all-trade running backs that aren't great at anything. Slow, small, but just move the pile forward. They are chain-moving running backs. And, I like Jordan James. I like Kiner. I don't think that there is an elite ceiling on either one of them, but Shanahan's scheme seems to get the most out of everybody. And I mean, Jordan Mason was leading the NFL in rushing after like 6 weeks or something. So, why not? The undrafted lore of Shanahan running backs has to continue. Why not with Corey Kiner?
Let's hit 2 supers and we'll get to our mock. We got this one from Mason Davis. The Saints got my boy Jasheen Davis, the edge rusher, I think from Wake. He says I'm pressed, but I think he means he's pissed. Tommy Huxley says Tig, meaning Jair Brown, will not be starting. John, stop it. He sucks.
He's starting week 1. I bet everything on it.
And he doesn't suck. He just had a bad year.
Everybody had a bad year under Sorensen. Everybody did.
They had no pass rush for the last 2 months of the year. I mean, they didn't even try to blitz. I mean, it was, those DBs were absolutely on an island getting crushed. All right, that's just my perspective. Let's jump to our mock draft, and what we're going to do here is John and I are going to go through the actual draft, and we're either going to stay with the Niner pick or we're going to switch, and we're going to see what we come up with. I'll show you the first round, even though I know you know it. But there you go. The Niners are right here at 11. They took Mykel Williams. John, are you staying with Mykel Williams? And if not, who are you drafting in the first round? I know in the past you've gone for Harmon. He's down here at 21. I'm trying to think what other guys you've gone for in some of our mocks. Nolan is right there at 16. Jalen Walker is right there at 15. The tight end Tyler Warren's at 14. Kenneth Grant 13. Booker. What do you think? Who would you go with at 11 if it wasn't Mykel?
Man,
or would you go Mykel?
Mykel was the pick, and I would stay with Mykel. That's who I projected. That's who I thought it would be. I think that it's a good fit. I wanted one of the offensive tackles, but they all went in the top 9. If one of those 3 would have fallen, that's who I would have went. The only other people of consideration, your guy Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, and Kby Bergen, actually. Like, again, I think it's a little too early. I don't want to go corner in the first round, but that is a perfect scheme fit. That would have been ideal, but I would stay with Mykel Williams. That's who I wanted. You're going to hear me say that 3 times during this process, but Mykel Williams was definitely one of them.
Okay. I would have gone with Kby Bergen. To me, the 49ers have to be cognizant of who you never forget who you are, and who they are is a team that keeps fucking up the number 1 pick. So you got to go instead of who you want and who fills a need and best player available. You have to change. I would have played the first round this way. I'm not going need, and I'm not going best player available. People think, oh, those are the only 2 options. Are you going to go need, or are you going to go best player available? Nope, I'm not going need, and I'm not going best player available. I'm going who is the safest player not to bust, because everybody I pick keeps busting. So I'm tired of watching my first round pick bust. So I'm taking Kby Bergen, the Thorpe Award winner. To me, he was very safe. He's a great player. I think he's going to be a great player for the Denver Broncos. And I went Kby Bergen. I'm going safe in the first round. No more busts.
I'd be so happy. And I love that Larry showed my Longhorns some love today, and I'm thankful. My man.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let's jump to round 2. So in the second round, the 49ers took Alfred Collins right here at 43. Would you have stayed with Alfred Collins, or would you have gone with one of these other guys? And it's an interesting list, and I can go down the list now if you want to take a look.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Now, I tweeted out before day 2 started, Alfred Collins would be number 1 on my board for the 49ers. I like this again is 2 of this now my 2 of my 3, but round 1 and round 2 went exactly how I wanted. The other names I've mentioned, Donovan Ezraku, Nick Scorton, Trey Amos. Trey Amos was really, really high on my list, one of your Ole Miss guys, and Ariante Ursary. Like, those were the kind of 4 that, depending on how you went in the first round. So, like, if you're staying end, you're not going back-to-back ends. So that would divert you to the corner or offensive tackle. But Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins is what I wanted to walk out of the first and second round with. I'm very happy with that. So I'm sticking with those 2.
Here, you would go with Alfred Collins in
yes,
round
sir.
2. Okay, I like Collins now, but to me, he made me nervous. And I like the fact. I mean, this is tough because there's Anthony Belton there, there's Benjamin Morrison there, there's Oladejo there, there's Ursary there. But to me, I'm gonna be more like the Ravens. I'm going Mike Green. Mike Green was the good defensive end that fell, and I'd get him right there in the second round. And I didn't get Mykel Williams in the first round, but I got Barron and Green now in the second round. So now we're in the third round. Let's jump to round 3. Okay, here's the third round. And the 49ers took Nick Martin, 75. And you could have gone with other guys down the road. What would you have done here? At
this one, my favorite player in the entire NFL draft, Jacob Parrish at 75, corner, Kansas State. I freaking love Jacob Parrish. Jared Wilson would have been my kind of runner-up, but Jordan Birch I like, but no, Jacob Parrish. I was hoping, crossing my fingers, he would fall to 100. He did not. That dude's going to be a stud, man. I absolutely. He went 84, so he went about 9 picks later to the Bucks. But I love Jacob Parrish, man.
I here am going with Jalen Noel from the wide receiver from Iowa State. I would have given Brock Purdy what a guy that I think is an elite weapon. I think I would have taken Noel right there instead of Nick Martin. All right, so now we're down. We have 2 picks in this round. So now you're at pick 100. Upton Stout at 100. Do you go corner or do you do something else? I can show you the 4th round as well.
I'll say this. This was the one where the Niners pulled one over on me because mine was CJ West. I wanted CJ West at 100, and they got him at 113. So, man, tip the hat to the 49ers because I would have paid earlier. I would have went CJ West here. Craig Woodson and Ty Robinson were my 2 runners up. I know you're a Ty Robinson guy. But I loved Craig Woodson, the safety out of Cal. And like nobody had him ranked. And I was like, dude, am I insane for having a 3rd round grade on this guy? He went top of the 4th round. But I would have went CJ West. I would have went earlier than they did. They got the value there. So they went up to me on this one.
So you would have gone CJ West at 100. Mm-hmm. I think I would have gone Savion Jones. And I really like Savion Jones from LSU. And also I think, after not getting Mykel Williams, I'm losing out on that 1st and 2nd down defensive end for a smaller guy with better production in Green, but I'm a little concerned about 1st and 2nd down playing defensive end. So I want Savion Jones there as I didn't get a tackle, but I like some of the day 3 tackles. So I'm going to take Savion Jones as kind of a combo. Okay. So now we are in round 4. And the 49ers did take CJ West at number 113. Obviously, you wouldn't have done that because you
took him at 100.
You took him at 100. Yeah. So who do you want at 113?
Finally, O-line. And this draft has not gone the way if the 49ers did want to address offensive line, they didn't get the chances. You see Charles Grant and, Conyers going right before him at pick 100. I'm going Marques Sigle, and I'm going to be a guard center. I'm going to plug and play at left guard, and hopefully he works to center. That's what I would have liked there. A couple other options. Teddy Buchanan I like. Quincy Riley I like. Jalen Royals, the wide receiver I liked. But Marques Sigle would have been my pick at 113.
Okay, I'm staying with CJ West. I would have made that pick at CJ West. Just leave that pick alone. I'm fine with that one there. Let's go to 138. The Niners went with Jordan Watkins. You probably want to see the 5th round so you can see who else you could have had. Let's see. Let's call up the 5th round and basically all these guys because you were picking at the end of the 4th round. What would you do here?
Man, because I changed the linebacker pick to a corner in the 3rd round, I'm going Jeffrey Bossa, linebacker out of Oregon. That's who I would have took at 138. DJ Giddens, the running back. Now we're getting into running back territory, was my runner-up. But Jeffrey Bossa, I was really high on him.
I would have gone at 138 because, the one thing I'm on my list here is I went corner, D-end, wide receiver, DN/D tackle. Then I went CJ West. I would follow it up with Jordan Phillips right here. The Maryland nose guard. I really liked Jordan Phillips, and I think Phillips is going to be a destroyer. He went to Miami at 143. I would have gone Jordan Phillips. All right, so now we're in the 5th round, and we're at number 147. This is the Jordan James pick. What would you have done here? Jordan James or any of these guys after?
Yeah, Denzel Burke, one of my favorite corners. I thought the 49ers would walk out with 2 corners. They didn't. The Ohio State corner, Denzel Burke, he's an outside guy. Yeah, I see Jacob Parrish is playing inside who can play outside. I wanted both, a nickel and an outside corner, and so I would have went corner there, Denzel Burke, 147.
Okay, I think... What would I have done here? I think I would have gone with the guy that went 2 picks after Jordan James. I would have gone with DJ Giddens.
Oof.
I thought DJ Giddens from K-State was a little bit more He's definitely faster, more explosive. I liked his full speed cuts. I would have gone DJ Giddens over Jordan James at 147. All right, now we're at pick 160. The Niners went with Marques Sigle. Who would you have gone with at 160?
So Sigle was my number 2 here, actually. So I got real close to this one, but didn't get there. Ajani Cornelius, the tackle coming off the injury from Oregon. That way I got my inside guy in Marcus Bow earlier. Now we got Ajani Cornelius, high upside athletic tackle that's going to need some time. Just let him kind of redshirt. And again, the tackle draft, I say this every year. Tackles, edges, quarterbacks get pushed up every single year. Offensive tackles flew off the board during this whole entire draft.
So 160, I would not have gone Marques Sigle. I would have gone with Chris Paul Jr. You know, I didn't take Nick Martin, so I still needed the linebackers, and I would have gone Chris Paul there at 170. He went 172 to the Rams. I would have taken him at 160. All right, so now we're in the 7th round. Let's fast forward to the 7th round. Niners didn't have a 6th-round pick. Who would you take here in the 7th round? They took Curtis Rourke 227. They took Connor Colby 249 and Junior Bergen 252. So why don't we start first with Curtis Rourke at 227? Who would you have taken at 227?
I would have taken the very next pick that the Chiefs took. The running back, receiving prowess, high upside, high speed, Brashard Smith out of SMU. I thought that I really wanted the 49ers to wait on running back. They did. They did pretty good. They waited a while, but Brashard Smith, I feel like fits Shanahan's scheme more. Niners disagreed with me. They want more of the thumper, tough, in between the tackles guy and Jordan James. But Brashard Smith, I thought, was what they were going to pivot to. But I was wrong there.
You know what? I like that. I agree with you. I would have taken Brashard Smith. Why? Because Brashard Smith is a running back, wide receiver. To me, he's a big play guy, and they needed big play ability. So I would have taken Brashard Smith. I already had DJ Giddens and I already had Jalen Noel, but Brashard Smith to me would have been a great pick right there. All right, at 249, who would you have taken?
I would have went back edge, Fadil Diggs, edge rusher. Now, because Connor Colby was a great pick, but I already got my guard in Marcus Bow. Maybe you double up there, but I thought edge was a more pressing need, so I went Fadil Diggs.
You know, I'm going to go with Colby there, just because I really think, you know, the more I watched him, the more I didn't like this pick the moment they made it. I won't pretend that I did, but watching Connor Colby, I really have a lot of belief that he's going to be the starting guard. So I like Connor Colby there. I think that's a good spot to get a guard. Once again, I didn't go offensive line until late. You went offensive line
113 and
113.
160.
Yeah. So you went 113 and 160. This is my first offensive lineman, Connor Colby, at 250. What did I say? 249. All right. So now we're at 252. 252. Who would you have taken?
Kobe Hudson, UCF wide receiver. I really liked him. He was an undrafted free agent. He got paid a pretty penny. I don't know his exact numbers, but he got paid to go where he went. So we were not going to get him. So Kobe Hudson would have been the guy that I would have liked there, wide receiver UCF.
I would have gone Willie Lampkin. Now, you know how much I talked him up. I really like him. I really believe in him. I would have gone Willie Lampkin. So there you go. That's it. The Niners, we know what the Niners went with. And I would have gone Jedi Barron, Mike Green, Jalen Noel, Savion Jones, CJ West, Jordan Phillips, DJ Giddens, Chris Paul, Brashard Smith, Connor Colby, and Willie Lampkin. John would have gone Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, Jacob Parrish, CJ West, Marcus Mbow, Jeffrey Bossa, Denzel Burke, Ajani Cornelius, Brashard Smith, Fadil Diggs, and Kobe Hudson. To round it out. Overall, I think it's interesting. I think I like our mocks a little bit better than theirs, but it wasn't. Overall, I don't give grades because I think it's kind of a pointless exercise. But overall, I was pretty pleased. I would say if you said, what did the Niners get out of this? I would say they got out of this a much better defensive front. I think they're better against the run. I think they have, depth at running back now. They've got some better depth at receiver. And I think they may have found something in Connor Colby. And I didn't even ask you, what did you think about the 49ers? One of the big stories coming out of the year was what's going to happen at kicker. And then it was like, the 49ers are going to bring in a veteran kicker to compete with Jake Moody. But then they're been so frugal as far as what they're spending. And then they brought in the Luke Rosa Award winner, Kenny Almendarez from Louisiana Lafayette. What's your guess, John? Is it going to be a Jake Moody, Kenny Almendarez battle and the winner is the kicker? Or do you think there's a third name that's coming up here in the next few weeks and there's going to be a Nick Folk or a Eddie Pinheiro or somebody like that? What's your guess there?
I was hoping they would follow what they said they were going to do and bring in a veteran. That's what I wanted. Joey Sly's out there too now. Like there are guys that have vastly outperformed Jake Moody in every way, shape, and form that you could just get. You just have to pay them a salary, but they're not going to do that. They want to, they're bringing in a kicker for a tryout. And he's a rookie kicker. Now, I hope that one of the kickers becomes amazing and we have our kicker set forever, but it looks like Jake Moody, it's not going to be a real competition. I mean, they're not even signing the guy. So there was some false pretense set up with, we're going to bring in a vet to compete. They're not even bringing a vet. They're not even bringing in a player. They're just bringing in a tryout. But we'll see. There's more time. My guess, it's not what I want, is that Jake Moody's going to be the kicker this year, and I think that's a gigantic mistake.
Who would you like to see round out the roster? There's been, there's still some free agents out there. There's some trade possibilities out there. I was talking about this the other day with somebody and we were throwing some names back and forth. I kind of like Gerald Everett as a tight end. I don't think that's going to happen now that they added Ross Dwelly. I think Green Bay's maybe going to move Romeo Doubs. I would definitely be on the list of teams bidding for him if he becomes available. I think he might get traded this spring or this summer. Like a Von Miller wouldn't be bad. An Asante Samuel Jr. corner wouldn't be bad. Maybe an offensive lineman that I'm not thinking of. What do you think? What's left to do? Is there anything, final pieces of the puzzle that you would try? Is there a final piece that you would try to add?
Corner and edge, I think, are two of the still shallowest positions. I thought you needed to add 2 edge players and 2 corners. You did not do that. I mean, you are one injury away from Darrell Luter Jr. being your starting outside corner. I don't feel much confidence in that. The draft pick, you hope he panned out, but couldn't do special teams very well at all, hasn't played very well. So, somebody like, the name that I'm looking at, who I was super high on, has CJ Henderson. That's a guy that I would want in this scheme. He was with Pittsburgh last year. There's some guys that are out there, an edge rusher. There's a lot of names, but they are costly. That's why I don't think we're going to get them, because I don't think this front office is going to spend. So, if you could, awesome, but I just don't see it. You might be able to bring in some cheaper players a Jerry Hughes or a Tyrus Bowser or something like that. I want Von Miller. I want Zadarius Smith. I want those guys, but I just don't see him spending money.
It's funny. Kyle Madsen has an article out, 4 rushers the Niners should take a look at that could help them. He's got Jihad Ward, Zadarius Smith, Matthew Judon, and Von Miller. I'd love to see Von Miller. I mean, Von Miller, I know he's 36, but Von Miller, I'll take my chances with Von Miller. And I would love to have Von Miller just to try to teach some of the younger guys a few tricks of the trade. I mean, Von Miller is an absolute technician at this point in time. Jihad Ward is interesting because he's a big guy, could play inside as well. But I think, I know he's 36 and he only wants to play for a contender. Maybe he'd view the Niners as a contender. He had 32 pressures on 209 pass rush snaps last year. I like him as a mentor. I like him as a guy, an important guy in the room. There's no question about that. He would be nice. But yeah, edge rush, corner, something like that would be nice.
Yeah, the roster is still not set. And so if the 49ers are going to stay with this bargain approach, once the 53s are set and a bunch of players get cut, that's my assumption of where they'll bring in new talent. Other people's scraps, that's what you're paying for. And so I think that's what their kind of target is.
John, before we get out of here, tell people what you got cooking on your channel. I know you've got the schedule releases coming out, and you're going to be traveling to a bunch of games. And tell people what you need to instruct them if they want to travel with you this year.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks away on the 14th. The schedule is going to be released. We're traveling everywhere. Almost every single road game, the 49ers Rush road trip is planning on going. If you've never joined us, we do a rally the day before from 2 to 6 p.m., family-friendly, giveaways, trivia, you name it. Get the 49ers faithful together in these opposing cities, and then we do a giant tailgate. That's probably my favorite thing to do in the world. Larry, you and me are going to be hanging out some point at Levi's this year. I can't wait for that. But yeah, so if you are traveling to any of the away games and you're like, man, I'm going by myself, or it's just me and my son, or we don't really know 49ers fans, we got you covered. 49ersrushroadtrip.com. We're going to have packages up for every single away game, as long as the wife gets a couple vetoes, like if it's on our anniversary or if it's a Thursday East Coast game or whatever else. But we're planning to go to all of them. So come join us, 49ersrushroadtrip.com. This is our 7th year of doing these types of events. I'm so excited. I love meeting new people, and I just love partying with the faithful.
Oh, man, it's the best. It is the best. I wish I could have come to the draft party. Kev had me on a tight, content creation
You
deal.
crushed it, man. And can I just say this? Like, my draft coverage is better because I listen to you, Larry, and your passion. I don't know a lot of these 7th and undrafted guys. You know them all. I cannot say thank you enough just for what you do for me, but also just 49ers fans everywhere, man. You and Kev, A++.
Man, it's so fun to work with your kid. And dude, it's been awesome streaming with you in the springtime, and I hope we can continue it right on into the season. Hopefully I'd love to travel with you guys one time this year and get out there. We're going to try to do a little bit of travel this year and try to expand our horizons. And I'm looking forward to a great training camp. You're going to be out at camp this summer, right? We're going to get a chance to see you out at camp. I'm really looking forward to this season. I know a lot of people are in that mode of, that Kawakami was a few weeks ago. The Niners are thinking 2026, and I understand that mode. I understand why people would think that, but I think they got enough done here. Like if you said, just Krug, forget all the grades and forget all the evaluations, and you and John just talk for hours. Let's just cut me to the chase. Let's cut to the chase and get right to it. Are the Niners giving up this year, or are they in it? I think they're in it. I really think they're in it. I think they're going to win 10, 11 games. I think they're going to win a playoff game. I think they're in the mix. I mean, I don't know if this is a vintage Niner team. I don't know if this is going to be the team that climbs to the top of the mountain. But I absolutely do not feel comfortable saying it's going to be a down year. Like they did too much. They have too much talent on both sides of the ball to just look at them and go, nah, line through them 2026. No, I can't do that. It's not just because we're going to be talking about it and content and all that. I just think they have more talent here than maybe people think. Maybe some of it's young, but I think they definitely have a shot to make noise in the NFC this year. No doubt in my mind.
I love it, man. And yeah, thankfully they're in the NFC West and they have a 4th place schedule that helps. And so we'll see how the schedule shakes out here in 2 weeks. And hopefully they don't get screwed with all the travel stuff. But man, I'm excited about this team. And 49ers fans, it's after the draft. Everybody should be excited. Hope should be high. I'm excited for a rebound year, which we need. Hopefully it looks a little more like 2021, a little less like 2020.
All right. I hope everybody has a great Saturday. Good luck if you're betting the Kentucky Derby. The first Saturday in May, it's here. It's Derby time. I saw that every single horse that's in this year's Derby has some bloodline connection to Secretariat. How about that?
The Genghis Khan of horses.
How about that, though? That horse ran in 1973. I was 3 years old. Every single horse in the Kentucky Derby has some tie to Secretariat. So we all should be so lucky to get a stud fee. All right, that does it for us. Thanks to John. Thanks to you. I'm going to go watch a little high school baseball doubleheader. Go Northgate. We got a doubleheader today against De La Salle. My youngest son will be out there. I will be out there burning my whiteness. For John, I'm Larry. Have a great day. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.